Okay, let's move to the next question. What should I do? Okay, this is a really hard one. So Mescadero actually sent this one in, so I'm not going to be too rough with you with this question, but the question is, what should I do if I haven't filed my taxes in several years? Again, I'm not to be too funny about this because obviously this is a serious question, but the easy answer is, dude, you got to file the tax forms. Okay, the IRS is waiting for those forms. Now, certainly some of those years, there is a reasonable chance that maybe you weren't required to file. Now, reading between the lines on your question, my guess is you know that you are required to file those tax returns. But the IRS can always go back and look for those unfiled years. Once you file the return, now you have lots of options. Earlier in the question series, we talked about what happens if I can't pay the tax. Maybe one of the reasons you haven't filed those tax forms is you knew you weren't going to be in a position to pay the tax. If you haven't filed the forms, there's a whole nother series of penalties that apply for not filing the form, in addition to the penalties that you may have to face for not having paid the tax, including interest. So the best advice, if you haven't filed those tax returns, start getting them filed. The quicker you can get the forms into the IRS, the quicker you'll know what the numbers are, how much you actually owe. The quicker you can sit down and talk with someone at the IRS, enter into a payment plan, use your credit card, finance it some way, even start a negotiation process with the IRS if it gets to that point. But none of those options, none of the options for resolving the headaches that I know you're having, the worry that you have over not having filed these returns, none of those remedies can even start to happen until you get those forms filed. Okay, again, use mahalodotcom, use irs.gov. They have a database of all old forms. You can print off the 2009 forms, 2008 forms, and get those filed as quickly as possible. Then once you have those filed, then you can start dealing with the issue of how do I get the money paid into the IRS that I have. And I know this is not the greatest answer. You might have wanted me to tell you, well, after 3 years, don't worry about it because they can't go back and look. But if you haven't filed a tax return, they can go back forever. And again, I'll tease you one more time. In the next hour, we're going to talk about preparing an audit-proof tax return. So going through and preparing those 3 tax returns and making sure you dot those I's and cross those T's. We'll talk about that a lot in the next hour. So Mescadero, you might want to stay tuned and maybe we can help you attack those older tax returns as well.